Okay, here we are, Andrew, at the HIV in America's Congress, and of course this started as an offshoot from Glasgow, trying to create the same model, and we've been working on the programme of Glasgow. And essentially, the model is we have overview talks, and which are reviews of subjects, and also abstracts that drive it. And obviously, we can't talk about the abstracts at the moment because they've just been submitted. So I don't know whether you want to start by outlining some of the areas that we've got in the Congress.
So yeah, I mean, I think the programme's looking very interesting, and I think that the keynote lectures that we've got on the first day certainly look like they're going to get the conference off to a good start. And I'm looking forward to the talks from Cliff Lane on the mechanisms of coagulation and immune activation, and particularly Kevin Fenton being in a great position to be able to compare epidemics across the Atlantic, talking about curbing the epidemic from a public health perspective. I don't think there's anyone probably in a better position to be able to talk about that. And then having Brian Gazzard talking about 30 years of HIV and his experience in the area. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Well, we've got a number. We have of course these sessions with the societies, and the IAS one is always usually focusing on, you know, what do you start treatment with, what do you switch to, and so on. And there's always, because 2 years elapses between congresses, there's always something new there. We have, I think, a really interesting symposium with the International AIDS Society on looking at really what's going on in Eastern Europe. And you've been involved with Beaver, creating sessions. You might like to say something about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I think that's going to be a really interesting session, and that we've got together with Beaver to develop. And really, I think that the issue of economics is one that is really only just started to be kind of more fully appreciated amongst clinicians, and so having a session around, you know, how HIV care is going to go in future, taking into account the economics, and having it started off with an expert health economist to sort of inform the audience about the sort of basic concepts. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes. I think it's a very important session, and it's very important that we educate ourselves about economics more and more. So that's going to be particularly good. And then I think that that we haven't mentioned the Lock lecture, for which we've got Wafa El Sadra talking about from guidelines to action, implementation, opportunities, and realities. And I think that Wafa's been very thoughtful about how things are going at the moment in terms of implementation of policies in sub-Saharan Africa, and the extent to which the WHO guidelines are fully addressing that. And so I really look forward to hearing her thoughts about that, because I think that with all her experience with ICAP, there's kind of no one in a better position to be able to talk about that.
I think the other area that's important is it's always sort of what's new. There's always a focus on that, and so we'll have the what's new with drugs. There are new drugs available, how we're going to use them, and also what's new with new tests, particularly looking into the future with what the resistance tests people will use in the future. The other focus is on comorbidities. We've had a great talk here in HIV in America from Peter Rice on aging, and of course whether there's premature aging in HIV, and so we will be looking at comorbidities and their management, such as heart disease, lung disease, cancer, and so on. And there will be sessions that the European AIDS Clinical Society will be doing a session with them on that very issue, how you manage those comorbidities. And then I guess you'll be involved in actually this, and that is treatment as prevention. There's still great debates about that, and we've had another debate here about it. And then finally ending up with looking to the future with cure itself. And I think they're the main themes. Have I left anything out, really?
Well, the only other thing, you said treatment as prevention, but it's worth highlighting, isn't it, that we've got Simon Collins talking about PrEP from a community perspective, and I think that's going to be very interesting. And we've had a good debate here about PrEP, and I think it's a very interesting area, because it's really not quite clear exactly where it's going to head, and certainly in the European context, and so I think it's going to be very timely to have that discussion.
And also we always keep a space because it is November, and so there will be watch this space, so we can slot something in that comes up which is topical. And I think that's the summary of the Congress.